All right, today I want to talk about your general contractor and why you probably, as a real estate investor, have trouble keeping one around for more than a job or two. In fact, if you're a real estate investor and you keep a GC for more than two jobs, you're already in the vast minority. If you happen to keep your GC for years, I mean, you're definitely playing in the 1% category and probably less than 1%. The reality is most GCs don't stick around with real estate investors. And why is that? So why does this happen? Well, there's a number of reasons. The number one reason I can tell you is usually going to be one of two things. One, the relationship falls apart due to a lack of communication or just ineffective communication. It's easy to think you're communicating effectively when nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, I've given GCs scopes of work with plans in the whole 9 yards and still didn't get what was on paper. So we just sort of assume they're just going to do what it says, and the reality is that isn't how it tends to go down. On the flip side, as an investor, you might give them ineffective paperwork and they don't ask questions, and so a bunch of assumptions are made, problems happen, the whole thing blows up. So, and then there's countless reasons. We could talk for hours on that, but the long and short of it is ineffective communication is oftentimes a big part of it. The other reason that I see all the time why GCs don't stick around is, quite frankly, we're just not paying them enough as investors. Now, let me qualify that. And that what I mean is, a lot of investors, when I got into this, it was like you would pay 10 to 15% for your GC for a job. Now, whether it was built into the cost or was it cost plus is, that's a whole separate thing. But at the end of the day, it was in that range, 10, 15%. And of course, as investors, we want to get the best deal possible. And then we'll tell them we're going to give them volume and so forth. In reality, we can't promise volume. In fact, very few investors can promise volume. Okay, because very few investors can generate volume to even make the promise with. Okay, and GCs certainly can't sit around waiting on us to get the next deal. Now, the other thing I will tell you, though, is having managed projects before working with a GC, but basically we managed it, and large projects, 10 to 15%, quite honestly, is inadequate. It's just too much work. And so I have nothing but tremendous respect for good quality GCs that are organized, they dot their I's, they cross their T's. There are not many of them that are going to fall into that category, by the way, but they are out there. And 20% is like bare minimum. In fact, plan on 25, 30%. But you might could get 20%. And like if I was going to be a full-time GC and that was all I did, yeah, I don't even think I would do it for 20%, but maybe a smaller project. But realistically, it is just a lot of work to do it well, like to really do it well, to put out a really great polished product. It's hard work. That's probably the hardest way I've seen to make money in real estate, quite honestly. So it's like, why work with the investors when they can charge a homeowner that and it's a lot less hassle? Because put yourself in a general contractor's shoes. What's the worst case scenario working with a homeowner? And yet a homeowner that maybe is high maintenance, I mean, they can work through that every now and then, right? Like they might do 5, 6 jobs a year, maybe 10 jobs, depending on the size of the job, of course. And let's say they do 10 jobs in a year and 1 or 2 are high maintenance, but they're getting paid 25, 30%. Why would they put up with the real estate investor who's trying nickel and dime them? Even worse, why would a general contractor put up with a nickel and diming real estate investor who doesn't have the experience, doesn't have their act together, doesn't have a clear scope of work, doesn't have clear plans, doesn't have a clear budget, doesn't have clear timeline expectations? I mean, there's a lot of reasons why a GC, quite frankly, doesn't want to work with you as a real estate investor. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Okay. When they can go and have more control with a project, working with a homeowner who's probably not going to ask them 10,000 questions, and they're going to get paid more, and their worst case scenario is maybe they get some high maintenance people along the way, but in reality, most people are not going to be high maintenance. So The next time you want to hire a general contractor, put yourself in their shoes. It's not why you should hire them, it's why should they work with you. And if you get that right, you can find something that works. So hope you found this helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.